This is something that would probably sell. Zeno has an opinion. Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go. Hey, it's George the Antique Nomad, and I am with Zeno in the background, and we are here to meet a friend of ours who is from Seattle but looking to maybe go to seminary in Tennessee. So we are in Nashville, and we're going to pick him up shortly, but we're going into Southern Thrift. We were headed to Goodwill, but the Goodwill has closed and is out of business, so we're going to go to this place and see what it's like. It's part of a bigger chain. That makes me happy. There's stuff on top of everything, so that's a great place to look. Yvonne Thrifty Rich and I talked about how it's nice to be tall because you see the things that sometimes other people pass by. Ah, yes, that pattern, it's based on an actual Chinese pattern, but this one is made in Bavaria, I believe. Those are pretty, but they're all newer, even though I like the purple one with the pinches. That's an older piece of Carnival, probably 1950s era when they started redoing Carnival on newer pieces. Yeah. Well, yeah, those weren't really done as well as the early ones. It's cased glass gray over white, but it's very heavy and polished very deeply with a satin finish, and that generally means new glass, and I don't do new. Okay, that's horrendous. Now this place does have a lot of clothes, and I'm sure that there's deals in the clothes. I am going to look at this real quickly to see if it might have age, but I don't think it does. Let's see if this plastic bowl could be Texas ware or one of the older ones with this spotting and modeling. And it looks like it says, yeah, it's from the Planet Melmac. The speckling is good and the price is right. It's got a bunch of scratches in the bottom, but somebody would still probably buy it. Yeah, they do wear. It's not perfect. I see one piece of candlelit glass, a bread plate here. Big scratch in it though. That's got the silver electroplate on it. $4.99 and $10.99. Those prices are okay, but you know, it's got to be a really good pattern or the older overlay that's thicker and heavier, where if you broke it, you'd actually have a piece of silver. Then I get more interested. But this one is a nice, elegant depression glass foot here. Duncan and Miller with these dolphin feet. I do look at these just to see sometimes, but this one's made in China and newer. Sometimes some of those Christmas plates actually are worth something. There's a big old blue ashtray. It's got a big flower in the bottom. That might actually be Indiana glass, but $17 is definitely more than I want to pay for that. That would be horrible to ship. We certainly have tons of stuff here, and this is encouraging because I've been to some of the other Goodwills in Nashville, and so far I haven't found a lot there. But this place has the feel of a place that might have something slip through that would be interesting. Between Yvonne Thrifty Rich and Jocelyn of Crazy Lamp Lady, I pay more attention to coffee mugs than I used to. These little gnome-like ones are practically brand new, even though they're cute. The odds are against me. This is fall scrap. You can tell by this design here, and there's the mark on the bottom. Passing by the toilet sign and Superman to look at this. This looks like it might be... No, it's a print. At first I thought this might be an original painting. And I always try to look at original art in thrift stores because you never know. When I was backstage guest at Antiques Roadshow, a woman had gotten a painting for 50 cents at Salvation Army, and it was someone who was a contemporary of Georgia O'Keeffe, and they appraised it at $10,000. So it really does pay to go through art at these places. And the thing I like down here is this stick frame, if I can get it out without breaking it. I am the bread of life. So there's a little tear in the print. It's $8.99, but the frame is what's good. It's an Adirondack frame from about 1900 with all the carving, and it's in great shape. So it's worth the $8.99. I mean, it needs a little bit of polish there, but for that price, I have my first purchase of the day. We'll scan the books really quickly, and also this pomander, which is You never know in thrift stores, things move around and sometimes they don't get back where they're going. So it pays to look everywhere. A bunch of these Time Life books from the Second World War. There might be buyers for some of those depending on the prices, but I see some water damage.
However,
that might be Hall China. Sometimes you can't tell because the ink stamp would have been covered up by the glaze. Okay, well the first thing I see here is one of these sugared Easter eggs with the design inside. You have to be careful not to break the frosting off, but look at the little birds in there, and Easter is coming. These are collectible. Someone made this for Matt. It's a little hard to tell how long ago this one was made. Some are older than others. Some of the really old ones are rather valuable, and this one's only $3.99. This is something that would probably sell. Zeno has an opinion. He didn't like the last one I bought either, but I did eventually sell it. Ah, Homeco cherubs to hang on your wall. Genuine plastique. Now this one has a little better decoration. This gal who would have been perfect for St. Patrick's Day with the clovers on her dress, and she's a music box by Sankyo. You're welcome. Oh, that's very 80s. The color, it says bath. That's going to be a collectible from the 80s, absolutely. And you may laugh and say, well, who would want that plastic thing from the 80s? But the clock is also made in the 80s. 80s made in USA. And the early quartz clocks were, so that actually is something to look for on these. The quartz clock needs to be USA if the piece was made in USA, otherwise you have a replacement. Well, let's see what's coming out on the carts, because sometimes, if you're lucky, like I was at Salvation Army recently, this is Wedgwood, $12.99 though. This is a funky painting here, and I have to say it's actually kind of interesting and quite large with that, and I'm going to destroy it if I'm not careful. An Indian elephant with monkeys riding it, and it's $15. Every thrifter says, oh come on, just let me enter, just let me enter, I know the good stuff's back there. Toy section. Knowing some of the newer toys is great if you're a regular reseller because there are bargains in there, I'm sure, but I'm looking for more vintage than what I see out right now. Ooh, there's some stylish shoes. Oh, and wingtips, multicolored. Yeah, I would wear those. Avocado blender on this cart that's just coming out. And it looks like it's got a glass holder, which is what people seem to like about the old ones. It's an old Hamilton Beach. Oh, it's an old TI-83, yeah. Yeah, this early stuff, it probably is worth double that. This is the one thing about buying newer and fantasy items. If these were older things, they probably would have gone to antique and vintage dealers, but because they're not, they're sitting here in a thrift store. Coke is it is a slogan they don't use anymore. But this is, again, a pretty recent piece nonetheless. And this cart has a pool table in it, and I'll bet that's a great deal because not many people have room for pool tables these days. They're just so heavy. Is that supposed to be... Ah, yes. Nice emoji. That will be collectible someday. One of these has turquoise beads, it looks like, right there. Could I see something in here, please?
I was just going to be like, if you want to see something and get a better picture of it, then you can ask.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate it. I'd like to see the blue necklace on the second shelf. Yeah, that one there. Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. I have a friend who likes the raw stones to use for other stuff, but I'd like to see this red one down here too, please, on the top shelf, the red with the gold, the fourth from the right. Thank you. Okay, so the way the fittings are done on this actually looks like flapper era check jewelry. Let's see what the clasp looks like. It's an appropriate ring with the catch, so that's good. How does the condition of the dangling, the big stone, or is it plastic? Because they did plastic in those too. Yeah, that has a nice enough look even though it's small. How much is that? $5.99. Yeah, I think I'm going to get that too. Well, I'm excited. We actually found some good jewelry, and they know some of their jewelry because they've got $55 on this one, the purple one, which I think is Listener, and $28.99 on that Coro thermoset set. And this amber one over here, they've got $138 on. So if they know it, they price it up. But I found something they didn't know, and that is, well, that's the key to making money in this business, is know something that the person before you did not. That's why we share knowledge, is so that everybody has a chance. This set here with the amber, it's got unusual textured stones, and it's probably Juliana. I'm guessing because of the way it's stacked and the unusual stones. If I saw the back of the earrings, I could tell for sure. But it's $130 for the set, which is more than I could get, so I'm not really going to bother with it. Well, I'm glad we found Southern Thrift. We were originally going to this Goodwill, and well, this Goodwill is no more, but I have to say I remember that it was pretty nasty and didn't have a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff going online too. Of course, the whole part, the fun of this used to be the browsing, you know.
Exactly, and that's one thing when everything was shut down and then opened again, but there weren't a lot of theaters or bars or other entertainment. We suddenly got a bunch of young people, so now there are young people interested in this. Okay, well, we got Adam, and Adam is here on the right and Zeno is on the left, and Adam is a collector and friend of ours, and he is visiting Nashville, and so are we. So we're going to go into Gaslamp Antiques next. I've only been in this place once. It has an elevator, and then there's this. Yes, it was voted #1 back when there were more malls. This one is actually the big survivor. So, lots of art along the walls. Listed artist Taylor Lind from Montana. That's plein air. It's very nice, $445. This place has some very fancy, beautiful stuff and a lot of true antiques. They do have vintage collectibles as well. It's a large store. I haven't been here in a long time. Here's a very pretty bronze with the woman playing the little harp, and that is early 20th century, priced at $900. I like the cornucopia, and her plaque says that she is Mu Champetre. Look how beautiful and ornate some of this carving is. This is a high-style Victorian piece with the shell on the crest rail and the very elaborate carved back and sides and arms. This would be a nice little throne for somebody for $249. Really not a bad price. It's funny how some of the Victorian furniture is becoming a relative deal. Look at this really cute little stick and ball with the spades. This is a very small child's rocking chair priced at $199, Victorian era as well. And then this one is attributed to John Pollard of Philadelphia. It came out of a home in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and was done around the time of the Civil War. It's an American Victorian aesthetic period piece. It's got these neat beveled shield mirrors. Very pretty piece. This one has come on the market for the first time since it came out of that manor, and it is priced at $12,000. This figural clock is just beautiful. It's French. It's around 1900, signed D'Emprunde Canova, and it's Amor and Psyche. They like each other. Very pretty painted floral garland face on the marble base. And they say it's an 8-day movement, which would have been a nice thing then, because a lot were only 3-day movements, and well, you had to remember to wind the clock all the time. But if fancy furniture isn't your gig, maybe this old cover for a fire hose will do. This is out of Indiana, and this is priced at $359. I imagine you could make a neat cupboard behind that for your firefighting regalia. These are very pretty bowls, this set here. This is a nice 19th century set with the hand painting. This is Davenport in a chinoiserie style. It's very much an Asian looking piece, but if you see the back with the crown mark and stone china, this is going to be English. They have these priced at $110 a piece. Fun display that they have going here. This says it's Potosi for Rosenthal Netter, and it's priced at $125. That's about what I appraised the one I saw at the appraisal fair in Indiana last weekend. I like shopping in the showcases here. I have found some good pieces here in the past. They have a very nice collection of Chantilly pattern silver here. They've got the gravy ladle for $109. They have a number of the different spoons and serving pieces. The master butter is $59. Chantilly is a very pretty pattern that a lot of people do collect still. They actually have several collectible patterns here. El Grande is the pattern to the back. Most of these appear to be American patterns. This one's Chippendale by Lutz and Weiss. And then the Gorham pea spoon in the Lancaster pattern here is neat, the larger piece there that's priced at $350. This is another Israeli stoneware artist, and this one is Ruth Faktorowicz, $115 each. I think those are very interesting. They have a definite modernist aspect. They look like something done around the 1970s. Israeli stoneware and the metalwork too are definitely areas to look into if you are a collector or if you're buying for resale. Out of the late 50s comes this Space Force marble game, and it must be like they knew we were going to have a Space Force someday, because there's the name right there. And somebody got it all the way to Jupiter. Jerry Mahoney, the ventriloquist dummy. This was a Paul Winchell creation from the 1950s. It is $325 with the original box. It's in perfect unused condition. I'm very partial to dollhouse miniatures. I like these little copper pieces. A lot of these seem to be earlier, like this one says that it's sometime around 1919. And it is Chinese. It's got China marked on the bottom. That is an older China mark. It's priced at $15 minus 25%. So that's a pretty good deal. And this one is also an earlier 20th century Chinese piece, the little copper teapot. It's going to be about $9 after the discount. So pretty good prices, really. They have a bunch of the porcelain furniture as well. I find that that is harder to sell than the wood or metal doll furniture for me. These little cards are tobacco cards. These were put in cigarette packages. Cigarettes were a pretty new idea around the First World War because it became impossible to take the time to roll a cigar. And so suddenly men started smoking cigarettes. They had lots of different series. Some of the military ones can be rather expensive. These are $5 each here. The American ones do better here. There are a lot that were done in England, and the movie star ones, if they're English, they sell in England. If they're American, they sell in the United States. There are some that are very valuable, particularly baseball cards. They did them up till the Second World War. These are $2.50 each, and these are showing various airplanes so that you could learn to spot the aircraft flying over during the war years. But I have a friend who found a couple of baseball ones from about 1910 that he got 5 figures for when they went to auction. So definitely something to look for. These watches are really well detailed as far as the descriptions, and they have pictures of the movement so you don't even have to open them to see. I think this is a very good way to sell watches if you're serious about selling pocket watches, to make it easy on the person, give them all the information including the serial number, which makes it possible to date them exactly. And they're also selling them with a 6-month warranty, which I think is very smart if you're able to do it, because these are the things that make people feel confident in buying these. Look at these amazing Capodimonte busts. These are Italian. People think of Capodimonte as being applied flowers, but that's not the only thing that came out of that factory in Italy. These are porcelain busts circa 1890, 24 karat gold paint in the trim. They've got the silver trim. They are just really stunning and quite large, and they're priced at $3,000 for the pair. Paragon China in England is good of its own right, but they named this pattern Sèvres because they wanted to be conflated with the very famous Sèvres porcelain from France. This was an English transferware pattern, however, and it is from 1923 to 33. Very pretty. They want $475 for that set, and then they've got this beautiful painted bowl, which is French, sitting next to it. I mentioned recently in a video that more complicated Lladró pieces are still big money. This is a good example of that. This boy and the grandfather in the fishing boat priced at $6.95. Look at all the detail and all the different pieces that had to be made separately and then fused together without breaking anything or making any mistakes, because how could you take it apart to fix it? The bottle had to be made as a separate piece, the fishing creel, the dog, the two figures, the two oars. All of this had to be pieced a little at a time. And it is the Paloma. Now here's some neat glass. You have the red bottle, which is, they said, possibly Empoli. I believe it is Empoli. The blue bottle, which is another Italian, probably Empoli as well. But the one in the middle, that yellow, is a very unusual pair of Blanco candle holders. This is designed by Wayne Husted in the jonquil yellow, and they did not make those for long at all, only in the 1959 to 60 catalog. They're very vibrant. They're $800 for the pair. That's honestly probably the right price for a serious collector. And then the plate here is Maurice Heaton fused glass, and Heaton is a very collectible line of fused glass as well. They have a little yellow stripe there that points to the etched signature, because that can be hard to find, and it's actually etched right there near the edge, not where you would necessarily think to look. As much as I like the fine jewelry, costume jewelry is the area that I tend to do the best in. I like this Venetian piece. You've got the yellow wedding cake beads, but you also have some with gold. It looks like it's fairly long. Those are late 1960s, early 1970s colors. It's priced at $48. I suspect in the right market, there would be room in it at that price. The peacock colored one in the front, this brooch, is Judy Lee, and it's one of the better pieces they ever made. That was home party jewelry. You actually bought it like at a Tupperware style party where someone came to the house and had a bunch of jewelry and showed you, but that was one of their better pieces. This purple piece is probably Czech, right towards the end of Czech jewelry production, right about 1940. Well, this space had more Juliana jewelry, but I just sent 3 pieces to the counter that I'm considering, so unfortunately they don't do a dealer discount on items under $100, so I'm not sure if I can do it or not, but we'll see. Meanwhile, there's some other really great stuff in here I'll show you. This is Dom Nancy in France. This is the Archangel Gabriel with the golden chalice, priced at $6.95. Dom is expensive, always, and it's really nice. Here's a nice piece of sterling overlay, and when we say overlay, this means if you broke the glass, you would have that shape. It's not just painted or electroplated on where it would just sort of fall away. And then this is a really beautiful Weller silver tone base with the butterfly. I've had it in the bowl before. I've never actually had this vase before, and I haven't really seen this vase out there either. This is fun. Red Wing did this when the Minnesota Twins went to the World Series as the American League champs in 1965. So that's not something I've ever seen before, and I can't believe there's many of them around. And then behind, this is very pretty and only $49. This is Royal Dalton Rip Van Winkle jug. Much the flavor of excellent Hollands, it says on the inside. Here's something that would be specific to people in this area. This is Vanderbilt University, the Commodores. This is a lampshade. Probably was in a dorm room or something, I would imagine. This looks like from about 1950, priced at $95. Well, this place is really big, and the guys, of course, were not as interested in looking at jewelry as I was, so they got on ahead of me. We're going to see what's back here now. But I'm going to get distracted again by a case full of locks. Locks, and especially locks with keys, are very collectible now. Some of these are railroad. They're going to have the initials of the railroad stamped on them. This one's Northern Pacific for $60. What's that? The stools. Those are great. I had a pair of those ones.
The top is redone.
The top's reupholstered. Yeah, these. $385. Well, gosh, I gave somebody a really good deal. I sold mine for $100 a piece, and mine had the original turquoise stools, but I was happy to get rid of them because that big base makes them really hard to take around to a show because they take up so much room. Oh yes, that's right, Seattle Seahawks. Well,
yes, but guess where it's made?
Well, I assume China. Of course. Well, they don't make that stuff in this country. The purpose of it is to bring something home after you've been drinking at the game for your woman so she can hit you over the head with it. It is Fenton, it is swung. It's 1960s. And they want 125. The market has just soared on swung bases, so if you're still finding them cheaply, well, go get it. Easter's coming, so it is time to see paper mache eggs. A lot of these were made in West Germany in the 1950s and 60s. They've been made for a while, so you're going to see different variations. These are kind of typical of a little earlier style. These more animated ones are going to be a little bit later. They are very collectible, and these prices are actually pretty good for them. And they had candy in them originally, but the Victorian ones were glass and said Easter greetings, like this one here, priced at $20. That's actually a very good price for that piece. And so timely. Let's see, I think I know why they had it in their basket now. Lots of quilts, and we are definitely in another area where people are very quilt crazy. This one is interesting because it's got the combination blocks. It's priced at $239, circa 1940. Here's the McCoy Rustic Cream and Sugar. I'm still looking for the whole set for a viewer of mine. $25 on the cream and sugar, but I know I'm going to find all three pieces with the teapot together and be able to make them happy, so I'm going to keep on looking. I've never actually seen a set of Culver glasses in a plastic holder before. These look like they're mid-70s, so this must be something further in their production. $75, you know, Nashville has definitely got a lot of new money, people moving in from the West Coast in particularly because of the music industry, and New York as well. And because of that, there are not as many bargains as there once were in Nashville. Nashville's becoming a more expensive place. The cat here is M.A. Hadley, priced at $129. This is an interesting cat base. We heard yesterday that apparently, this one doesn't have a signature that I can show you, but it's usually signed M.A. And we heard yesterday that their factory in Louisville is going to close after having been there for about 75 years, which is a sad thing, but it means if you see things signed M.A. Hadley, people recognize it, they collect it, and if it's going to be out of production, there's a good chance that you will actually see some additional price increases. These are being sold as art pieces, and they are collages of a bunch of old toys, children's games, tins. They are really fun. You've got to give somebody credit for spending a lot of time and using a lot of thought. We've got the American in orbit, and it's all robots and space figures here. We have this one, which is very cute with the bunnies. This one is a grab bag of different child's toys. These are by Carolyn Jarrett Elam, and I believe this is probably her space. And she's got prices between $95 and $200 on these, but they are really inventive. And if you think of all the little pieces they had to assemble to make these, well, you know, maybe that price isn't so far-fetched. I always look for old license plates. This is the first time I've seen one from Tasmania. This one's from the Alberta Dinosaur Trail. Alex Archbold from Edmonton probably runs into these when he's running around looking for merchandise up there. They've got a bunch of rolled Persian rugs, and this is really nice because this person knows more about them than I do, and they've done a very smart thing. Not only have they done the research, and they're telling us, for example, that this is a Qashqai Persian rug in 100% wool, but they've rolled it out and taken a picture so that you can actually see it without having to unroll this in the middle of the store. That is really, really smart, because then you don't have to guess what you're getting, and you can open it up if you're really serious. This one is Malayer, and it's village made from Persia. A lot of these Persian rugs are 1950s because we had a big trade with them at that time. This one is Azerbaijani, and it's Caucasian, near the Caucasus Mountains. And this is really fun with the deer motif in the middle. That's something a little different. This is a prayer rug. You can tell by the design. So a very smart way of displaying, I think. These are really neat, the sunflower and serpent andirons. These are English, and these are going to date to sometime around the 1870s or 80s. I wonder if they have any sort of a mark that we can tell better. They're very heavy. Ah, yes, there we go. There's an English registry mark. When you see these old diamond marks, The information inside them is what tells you the date. These were required on goods made during the mid-Victorian era. And they have them priced at $4.45 or make offer. Now this piece, this sideboard with the fruitwood tracery and the fans in the corners, looks like probably a 1920s Hepplewhite based design, and it's sold. And I always like to look, they've taken the tag off, so in this case it's not going to help us, but when I see things marked sold, I always like to look and see if the tag is still on so we can see what they sold for, because that's really helpful with knowing what we should be paying for things and how we should be pricing. They have little signs here, they name their aisles by street so that they can direct you to a certain place, and that's probably smart because the aisles are all over the place here. That doesn't follow any particular direction. It'd be really hard to find your way otherwise, although they do have dealer numbers, space numbers on the walls too. There are collectors of Smokey the Bear, and this Smokey the Bear mug from about 1980 is by Gaslamp. And then here's a Roseville Raymore little platter for $12. That's actually a pretty good price for that. I might just send that up. Raymore by Roseville. Bar carts are really all the rage right now, and this chrome one from, looks like the 1980s is priced at $2.29. That's really not a bad price for these right now. The Modernists love them. It's extra serving space.
$50.
$50, yeah, it's got that groovy red bottom. It just needs a really great red velvet shade to make it complete. This is Francoma, and you can tell what era this one was made in, because it has the brick red clay, so this is Sepulpa. This is the second to last generation.
That's actually kind of cool.
Pachinko.
Oh yeah, I like pachinko machines. They're neat. And it looks like it's got the balls. And you can get a converter and hook those up so they'll actually work on American Electric, even if they aren't set up that way. It's pretty easy to do, because a friend of mine's dad brought one back from the Navy and they set it up, and it took like a $10 converter. Oh yeah, one of these utility lamps, 24 bucks. The Blanco twin spout decanter is a classic. They came out with it in 1938. It was one of the first things they did that wasn't stained glass for churches. This one's got the .com label on it from a fairly current period in time. They want $64 on it, but if you go to the Blanco catalog, they're still making them, and brand new, they're $32 wholesale, which means $64 is about your retail price now. That's why I like the older ones, because I can get them for less than that. And they came in just about any color Blanco ever made. I always like these iron hairpin leg tables from the 1950s. That one's priced at $75. Enid Collins Roadrunner purse here. This one is priced at $84. You just don't see so much Enid Collins anymore, but there is the EC label, and because it doesn't say Collins of Texas, this was one of the ones made before 1970 when she sold the firm. And then this one is Money Tree, priced at $84. This is one of her most famous designs. This one has the Collins with the horse, and that's Collins of Texas, so this one was made slightly after 1970. So those are your different marks on Enid Collins. I spot a rosewood piece in the middle of everything else here. And rosewood, $200. It is on a metal base. It's actually kind of interesting that it's a pedestal table. And it has some age. It's definitely not new from the way the drawer pulls are. $199, you know, depending what they would take on an offer, that could easily be a $300 piece in a Modernist store. I did a video recently from Vintage Modern St. Pete to show you the kinds of things that people are buying and selling there and the prices they're getting. So that is something to look for. Absolutely. Rosewood is really popular right now. I wanted to show this because this has a nice label. This is by Bischoff Glass. Bischoff was a smaller but fairly prolific West Virginia glass blowing company, and Bischoff Glass did pinches. They did similar colors. They tended to melt their pontels, so they're not rough like a Blanco pontel. And their designs sort of have the look and feel, but are just a little less crisp than Blanco and some of the top end of that market were. But there are some great pieces, and there are collectors for them. That one's priced at $22. And it's right next to one of the Blanco astrological coasters, or little paperweights, from about 1970. This one is Pisces, of course, with the two fish, and it's priced at $24. Oh, lucite chair on. You can tell that one's old because the casters are all rusty. It's on hold for somebody, and they put it on hold. Even though it has a few scratches, it is original. They put it on hold, and it's priced at $210, so it gives you an idea that somebody thinks that it might be worth it to them to pay $210 for this and take it home. That's why I like to look at hold and sold tags. I always think of the movie Eating Raoul, where he's going to take her off and they're going to have a house together with some really good velvet paintings. And here's a really good velvet painting for $145. You can tell by the frame with the pebbling that this is going to be 1960s or early 70s. It wasn't that long ago that Nashville looked like this downtown. That is all full of all sorts of buildings now, and Broadway is about where I would be standing if I was taking this picture, and that is completely renovated and full of neon and bars, and it is a hot happening tourist destination now. Okay, we have a cuteness alert here, so I've got to go look at this. This is a very cute little bird cookie jar. It is priced at $225, which is not cheap. That's definitely kind of old school cookie jar prices, but it was a hard one to find too. Let's see if we can tell who the maker is. Here we go. This is an American biscuit. So that's our maker there. The chef cookie jar, I believe, might be newer because it's only $49 and it feels much lighter. And then this is an older one, the cat with on the beehive. Cat's gonna get a rude awakening if it catches a bee. And this one is also American bisque. Another really nice quilt, this antique basket quilt. They say antique, but it's probably 1930s, so not technically 100 years old yet. Getting close though, and you can see all the detail in the field, and that's what's nice about this pattern, is that you can really see everything that went into making it. Well, this vinyl seller made their sign out of the front end of a 1963 Chevrolet. So lots of vintage vinyl here, as you can tell. These folks have a lot of cameras. They have a lot of these dual lens, which tend to be more expensive. Although the IcoFlex here, they've only got $49 on, which is a pretty good price. They've got telephones as well, including the French style, which is $72. This one here is a Northern Electric, and this one is from 1947 with the Bakelite handle and the original cloth cord. And then the Model 302 was the classic 1940s and early 50s phone. I think on the early episodes of I Love Lucy, you'll see that phone in the background. So I'm at the counter, and here's the Juliana pieces I was looking at. This one's got the fall colors and is a clamper, and then the butterfly. But the one I really like is this set here. It's got this nice frosted or satin glass set with the clear stones or clear root beer and amber color stones. And I just think it has a good look, and we do know it's Juliana from the 5-ring construction on the back. Interestingly enough, we know these earrings match, but these are not the typical backings that Juliana used on their earrings. So that just goes to show you that you can't just rely on one method of identifying things. Wilder Bentley was the artist of this piece. It's from 1959. He was out of Berkeley, California, and this one here is priced at $359. I think it would sell for more in California, where they know this artist. It's very well signed and dated. Well, this guy over my head doesn't look like he's having fun, but we are, and we have found a few things here and are now going to head off to another part of town and see a different kind of antique store and some more thrifts. Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community, here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.